Step right up and join the most vibrant circus community in the world, circustalk.com. This is In Center Ring. I'm your host, Jonathan Lee Iverson. She is the showbiz veteran with 8 generations of circus coursing through her veins. This global citizen has created a much celebrated big top enclave of sawdust magic deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. In Center Ring presents Fanny Kerwich. You were my boss for a few weeks with the Lone Star Circus, the one and only Fanny Kerwich. Miss Circus herself. I call you Miss Circus because, you ooze it. It comes through your pores. You're unapologetic about it. You carry that spirit. You have such great pride in your family's great heritage. And it's wonderful to see you're passing it down to your children. Well, at least Gigi.
Yeah.
We've got to work on my co-star there, Garrett. We have to work on him, but
Still,
he's wonderful though. But he wants to be a baller. He wants to be a basketball star.
Yes. Oh, he may run the circus at some point. I think he yes, we'll see. We have some time. So I don't give up. Never.
This is wonderful. I love your story about coming to this country and you fell in love with your wonderful husband, Mark Doyle. Who's a wonderful lawyer out there in Texas, and he had no idea what he was stepping into. I love this because I wrote about this on Circus Talk, how you talked about, in your family, you always knew it was ideal not to blend with outside culture when it came to matrimony because few understand. How did you get him to actually jump on this journey with you?
I'm not quite sure, actually. I think it just happened naturally. Sometimes you just take a chance. And I did tell him, like, when I start dating him, then I will not marry him because I will not marry somebody not from circus, not just because I wanted to continue the life and the freedom than I feel and I have when I was performing and traveling. But then he says he will follow me everywhere in the world. And so then we get married and then I say, let's go. And then he says, well, let's wait just a little bit. And so I just say, okay, well, then I'm going to start here. And then it was just always been an extraordinary guy. When I came to Dallas, he was really nothing about circus. It was zero, like not even a space to train. I felt very lonely. I tried to help some theaters play, but it was not my thing. So I picked up my hula hoops and I went on the street and I started to do street performing. And he came and he was like, you don't need to do that. I said, oh, no, you don't understand. I need to do that. And he was so great that he actually passed the hat for me. So at that moment I knew that he was in completely, and his open mind, I think it was always in him. He was always in him. So sometimes I feel like he's even more circus than me with the passion that he put into the work with me.
Well, he was an athlete too. Well, he is an athlete, right? He played basketball.
Basketball and sports and yoga, and I did good. I did really good.
Well, your kids do have great genes then. So it's inescapable. The athleticism, the beauty, and the circus is there. This is wonderful. I'm curious as to know, how did you end up in the Lone Star State of all places? I mean, I remember you on, I believe it was Ringling Brothers Kaleidoscape, right?
Yeah.
And that was so wonderful. And that was an extraordinary show. That was a beautiful show. I wish it would have lasted longer. Was that your first time here when you?
No, actually, it was. I was. My family spent 27 years in Canada and America, and they worked with the Mill Circus and all kind of circus at the time. And then I was born in Canada. And when I was and we had a small circus. We toured all around Canada with my parents, with a very small family circus, way before any circus was there. And my dad was a kind of an adventurous, and he take us to small island around Canada and work for Indian Reserve and every far away discovering places to bring joy. And he used to say, we are merchants of happiness, and this is what we need to do. We're going to bring the joy of circus everywhere. So we was not as a child surrounded by the big group of the circus. We was the 5 of us with the small tent going everywhere and perform everywhere. So actually I was supposed to be born in San Antonio, Texas, because my mom and my dad was performing at the Universal Exposition in San Antonio in '68, and she was pregnant, and a friend of my dad told him that for a good reason, he would have to take his car and drive all the way down to Canada, because if I was a boy, then, I would have to go to war, and I would, it would be a lot of,
right, we still had the draft.
Yeah, and then if it was, so I had to go, and so they drive with the trailer all the way to Canada, and then I was born in Canada. So I find, and it never came to me, but I find old picture of my mother when she's 18, and her name, like she had a lasso act, her name, because I didn't know, her name was Leah Dallas.
Ah.
I was shocked. You couldn't say that to me earlier. She says, I didn't thought of it, but yeah, so I knew a little bit of America, and my family, yeah, we're both culture a little bit. So, but my dad decides to take us back to Europe because he wanted us to have both culture. And he says, anyway, if you're going to do a show, they're going to bring you back here. Like if if something happened, they're going to take you to, and that's what happened. Ringling came, Tim Alls, came to me, and I think as a director, Raphael Diritas told him something that, is this performer that I want to have on that Caddy Dale's Cave show, and I thought it was a joke because I was at the Moulin Rouge at the time, and they told me, hey, Tim Alls is at the performing insurance for you, and I was like, oh yeah, right. So I did my big, down the stairs, go back to my dressing room, then I get another phone call saying, hey, Tim Alls is there. So I was like, what? So then I went and said, yeah, can you come and be part of this fabulous show? It was beautiful. It was one of those superb.
It was a beautiful show. I remember it. I wish it would have lasted longer. I hope at some point when we come out of this this pandemic, I would love for them to revisit the idea at least. Because I don't think we'll ever see the big grand shows again. But I do think we'll see smaller iterations, pop-ups maybe, things like that, going virtual, which we'll get into. How many generations does your family go back?
I'm 8, so my kids are 9.
Wow. Now this is wonderful. You basically began on the street performing. The spirit is driving you and enticing you. And you now have a full-out company. You have your school, which is producing wonderful artists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you perform shows quite frequently with Lone Star Circus. So you are the go-to in Dallas, Texas when it comes to circus. And I want to get into this spirit that drives you, why you couldn't just pivot, and I don't know, why didn't you go into insurance or something? You had to just go, I need circus. That is something I keep telling people, this thing you don't run away with it. It calls you, it beckons to you, and it is something that chooses you. And you just have to adhere to its call, or I guess you're miserable. And you have to envelop everybody else around you to go with you. And you've had success, obviously.
I believe in circus. I believe in circus. I believe in its power. I believe in what it could bring to humanity. I believe in what we carry. It's an important message. And now more than ever, and always, we carry a beautiful message of freedom, self-expression, on the show we're about to talk about, I wanted to verbalize this, and we was there first, way before, the rain came, we was there. And I think those ancestors worked really hard to be able to stand where we are now. And it's an homage that I give them. And so I really believe in the power of circus. I believe in humanity, and to me, circus is a place where you're going to be accepted. If you give the amount of work and dedication, you're going to be accepted to it. And it's not going to be any rejection. I mean, you know it. If you can speak any language, you can be any color, you could be any religion. I mean, we don't need to talk. We perform with her body, we express, we can go all over the world. When people start to learn to walk on their feet, we learn to walk on our hands. It helps us see life in a different ways. We understand every human being. I mean, it's just an acceptance that I wish could be everywhere else. You know, it's just, to me, my mission was always clear to me. Then I realized recently that it was clear to me, and sometimes other performer, like not sometimes, but most of the time, if we are sitting there in the theater, and I will say, I like to say that, but like Brendo is doing his somersault on a tightrope, like the 18-year-old, and I saw practice and fell and all of that. You know, it's a moment where we all stand and look, because we know that's an important moment. This is what make us carry on, because we're gonna be witness this. And at that moment, things change. It changed in us because we knew the new generation is about to give that same commitment to stay where we at. It changed the heart of the kids, and seeing it, thinking, oh my gosh, is this possible? And then the parents then leave with the child with a smile on his face, and then thinking that we really, you know, like I think it was a Dominique Jandot phrase, and it's we are ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and to remind the rest of the world, and ordinary people can do extraordinary things if you let them, if you accept them, if you give them a chance, you know. And so I think circus does that. Circus give you an individual way to exist. Too tall, too short, too fat, to this, to that, bring him on. You know, the more unique you are, the more I'm going to love you. And the more they're going to love you. But if we give you a chance to express that, but if you lock you down with a bunch of layers far away from what you're supposed to be in this humanity, you know, this is when everything's shut down. And we're there to wake them up, you know, because the life that we have and how much harder it is, and that gift that we give them, it's important. It's an awakeness of the soul by the way we move, by the way we shape, by the sound, by we wake them up. You know, we're not doing this to be famous. We're not going to sell music. We're not going to make any movie. We're not going to make money out of it, you know, and we make it for generation to generation, and we're going to fight hard to make her kids do it too. So why are we doing it if it's not something more profound? That it's important.
I'd like to know from you, being someone who has circus coursing through your veins for multiple generations, who is a founder and not only an artist forever, but also an artistic director, also an executive. How do you see, or what do you envision for circus going forward as we maneuver away from this pandemic?
Well, I do things then to go back to the roots at a moment like this is very important. And the roots mean go to your neighborhood and entertain right there, you know, like go back to the street, you know, kind of what I did when I came here, like it was nothing to do. So I went on the street and I did my hula hoop pack, and that was the first step of something else. So I think being raised and born in the circus, I kind of go through a lot of momentum, or we survive, or it's hard, or we don't have any shows. I mean, it was a moment where we had to do performance in any place that wanted us. I mean, really. And it really didn't matter where you're doing it. It didn't really matter if it's a small show, a big show. I think you have to settle to just be. And that's what I'm going back to, something that my dad did when I was very young, and I was doing a big show, and I was maybe 7 years old, and I was on the trapeze, and I was signing autograph, and I felt like I was a big shot. And then he'd take me on the street the next day, and I did my act, and it was like, oh, look at a poor gypsy, like, you know, let's give them, you know, $1 or $1 or whatever. And the message was clear, like it didn't matter. It didn't matter what they think. It didn't matter where you do it. What matters is who you are. And I think that carried on to me. So I had to do a first virtual show in the backyard of a friend with basically no lighting. And I knew that it would be all my friend or some of my friend over the world that was going to see it. And it was scary. Like, it was super scary because, I mean, with all the show that I did and all those set design and all the lighting, but, you know, I was doing that or I was doing nothing, right? So it didn't matter. You have to do it. You have to continue, and I have to set up for maybe less than what it was. So if I have to do a pop-up tomorrow for 60 people, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell my friend, well, such I already did, coming in, you know, coming in, let's share what we make and let's see what happens, but let's just keep moving. So what I see as community and with this pandemic is then, you know, it's more humanity. If there's one thing that came, and I like to go back to that words, in my neighborhood, I never knew anybody. Since the pandemic, I know everybody. You know, and then the first thing that my mom did is she take her org outside and she turned the music, and then we put the silk on the tree, and then my daughter performed, and then they all came and they were so happy. And so it's kind of what I continue, just kind of go to little place and try to bring the nourishment of happiness and bring happiness, you know, and survive, you know, until things move and get bigger. But I think right now it's more about smaller, more, is not the word right now. I think simplicity is exquisite, you know, simplicity, good and simple, in a way that a good performer then is going to give you those 5 minutes and a beautiful space, and you can create with whatever you want, hay or whatever you want, be creative. And do what circus is really here to do. It's to bring people together, you know, in a way that it's safe. So if you can't have them under a tent, just put them outside, spread them out, but still carry that same marchand of happiness and continue to do that. And I think that's the way that I see it. We can anyway. We can't bring a big building. We can't bring people more than a certain amount. So you got to make it smaller, and you got to go everywhere. And this is with what we do. And I'm excited about it, actually. It's a great opportunity to grow your database, to go plays that you would not have gone to learn, to have new experience, and to reevaluate yourself. And the performing art in general. I mean, you know, we're continuing. I mean, the opera is, you know, it's a little bit harder. And I love the opera, but, you know, they have millions, but it's harder. I mean, we'll keep functioning, right? So it's about being resilient of what you used to be and what you're willing to do to continue. I mean, you got to be willing to go on the street and, you know, and pass the hat, and it's hot and it's hard. It's hard. What we did was hard. I mean, like, you was on one of the last show we did. We was sweating, and it's Texas, and you know, and it's mosquitoes, and you name it. It's hard. Circus is hard. So anybody didn't think that it's easy and it's just going to be like, oh, I'm running away, and it's going to be like, you know, let's fly. No, circus is hard. And if you believe on it, if you understand how much important that is, and you love it so much, you don't care. You just do it. And this is where the true selection is going to happen. Who is willing to put the work?
Art is a spirit. Circus is a spirit. So it's not confined to pandemics. It's not confined to the whims of an executive or even the whims of the audience. It's a spirit, and it only needs the will and our faith to be ignited for it to do its wonderful and good work. And this, listen, you know, I'm a fan of yours because this is what I get when I see it. A lot of people, when they're around you, you really emit that type of spirit of what this is all about. It's a true belief, you know, it's a true belief. And I think a lot of us sometimes forget that when we're out looking for gigs. I'm just as guilty. We're looking.
You got to forget your ego, you know. You have to. The hard part as an artist is to go. But that was, you know, a lesson. Like it says, after signing autograph, the next day I was on the street passing the hat. You know, like it's the same act. One is in the super casino, the other one was on the street. It's the same act. There they make you sign autograph, and here they barely give you $1 and look at you like, you know, it didn't matter. You know, in the end, it didn't matter. It's for your ego. I think circus is also. You know, when you get hurt in the circus, what you're going to do, you go and you watch the shows. What I did one time in Roncalli. I remember I hurt my feet, And then what I do when I go watch the show, and then you watch the show, then, is as good as it was when you was in there the day before. Because, that's the way it is. And I think circus teach you that too. Everybody, you can replace everybody. I mean, you're coming in, let's keep moving. And at the same time, if you change, it won't be the same show. It will be worse or it will be better, or it will be, humanity is so important when you do a show like the way we do, or we believe on each performer. It's not about the ensemble and, we put 20 people and one is singing, down the floor and the other one is doing tricks up there, because they don't want the energy to come from that one up there, because maybe they don't have it because they don't pay them that much, or, and then if it's a problem, they could just change the singer and it's okay. I believe in each single artist and what they have to bring to the pot with their heart and soul. And that's what to me make a good show. I don't want to dress them in gingerbread.
So your last two offerings, well, we can talk about the previous one, but we're going to talk about your upcoming show, upcoming show. CES Lone Star Circus. Lone Star Circus presents Circus Aura. You called me about it. I agreed to join you on your venture.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. Oh my gosh. I told them, I said, I'm going to call Jonathan Lee Iverson. He says, really? He says, yeah, watch me. I'm going to call him. And then I jump up and down and I tell everybody, like, oh my gosh, we're going to have, because if he was in there, you needed to have that soul, that fatherhood of the circus sense of force, And
I'm so glad you called me, because it was really good for me. It's always good to see you. It's always good to see your family. I mean, I've met some wonderful artists who are doing wonderful things. Day Day and Shirley Larible, my Shirley. Wonderful Shirley. And just so many others, I mean, who are just spectacular artists. And I just love the theme around it. I mean, I want you to, you do us the honor of really explaining, how did you conceive this particular show? What is the mission of this particular show, and why?
I wanted to create a show where we can talk about the ancestor through a journey inside a castle, to kind of going back to the times where they had to do that, the troubadour, and go to castle, and if the queen or the king was smart, they will treat them very well, because then they will go to the next castle and say how much powerful the queen was. It was kind of the marketing of the time, and those was going around with actor and acrobat and jongleur and poet and musician, and it was all artists together, and we was carrying on like that message of freedom and self-expression. And then suddenly, they all continue to move. And then there's that ring where they say, oh, circus, oh, the circus, oh, the circus, oh, the circus. Oh. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, my grandfather was there as much as you, because it's kind of a snobism, into looking into the circus. And I just wanted to shut everybody's mouths and says, enough is enough. Let's go back to the point, Like when you set up, because somebody buy you a theater, and I don't want to be, this says, oh, okay, I'll get me the theater, and I'm going to talk about you. And another one's like, okay, we're going to, talk about your belief, and we're going to do what, you want to do. When you have some other one, the circus, and say, no, we're not going to sell that freedom, that message. Then, if you start touching us, if you start have power on us, we won't be able to carry. We're going to continue, and we're going to continue, and we're going to walk. And then there's this captain from the English army, then there was, with his horse, and he says, hey, why don't you jump in the ring? They just jump in, So the expression is the same, in the ring, out of the ring. I just want to open up. And talk about the ancestor and being heard. Then we are important, and we was there, and we're still there, and we continue to be there. And to stop that kind of hierarchic,
Right.
Sometimes people talk to me about diversity. They talk to me about, we're going to talk about this in her theater. And I get to their theater. And then I'm trying to do a show, and we're a circus in their theater, and they can barely accept us. And they want to talk about diversity. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's a strange one, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
The hierarchies in the artistic fields. It's really interesting, because circus still suffers from that in many respects, where I remember a wonderful clown I worked with. He said that. He said, it's so funny. you said we respect everybody else's artistic offerings and things, but we never get any respect. And what's interesting is I always cast the circus as the Little Richard of the performing arts. You know, everybody takes a piece from it. Everybody
suck at the butt of it. I mean,
but nobody wants to give it any credit.
Yeah, you go to the runway, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, movies, painting. I mean, I wanted to bring that back to the show. Everybody suck at the blood, but nobody bring anything back. You know, suck, but they don't nourish those people. Then they're like, you know, struggling right now for their art. Nobody does, you know. But then, let's suck at that freedom that they talk about. That's eccentricity, that sense of extraordinary, like this life poetry. You know, and it's like, really? And then what's the gap? What did we also didn't do to create that gap? Right? From being in the runway of last year fashion show Gucci to, the circus with the scary clown. I mean, how did we get to that gap? How did you have people making millions on her shoulder and then we barely surviving? That's also, you know, like a reevaluation of everything. And it's important to go back to the roots and opening doors and opening rings and opening mind and opening heart and go back and try to do something about it and verbalize it and educate people about it. I like to say that when you explain a painting, it's pretty much over. But on that case, I thought a little bit of explanation was maybe important. And so that's, you know, what and who better than you could actually have been the narrator into the show.
Listen, I appreciate it. I love the fact that you are so unapologetic about pointing that reality out, because it's true. So many, and I don't even know if they know, so many have eaten off the plate of circus and they don't even realize it. And yet they you know, cast their glare upon circus like we're beneath them or something, you know, when they're literally eating off our plate. And they're really, quite frankly, if I might be a little vain, the reality is circus is the art everyone aspires to, because there's nothing, we're not playing aerialist, we're not playing to be daring, we're not playing ringmasters, we're not playing animal trainers. We are, in other words, circus is really living art. It's living art. And that's really the what separates, I think, circus from all others, and what makes it the zenith of human and animal expression artistically.
And you don't pretend you are, you know, it's not like it's, you know, you cannot, you know, I like to say you can pretend to be an actor, you know, but you can't pretend to be a circus performer.
Absolutely. Now, what did you see in your last offering, which was wonderful, by the way? I loved it. The first virtual circus you presented. I know you were probably just sweating like crazy, and it was a risk, but you've been taking risk your entire career, your entire life. You know, how did you conceive of that show, and what were the lessons you learned? What were some of the failures you saw in that one that helped you design what will be Lone Star Circus presents Circus Aura?
Yeah, well, I think in the first one, it was always hard for me to see a circus in television or in movies. It was very hard to catch the soul of it. So I wanted to really record the first one in a very not conservative ways, and to try to, if we cannot have it live and the feeling of that, then allow the audience to be able to see a little bit of the backstage, the feeling of it, and share with them what normally they could not have shared if they would be sitting in the tent. So that was the first challenge, done in one day outside. I think we had all the circus got around, because I think it was a completely ecosystem. I mean, we had frogs, you name it. It was a beautiful backyard, but it was that sense of creating to record a show on stage, of course, with that diversity that means so much to me. And then when I say diversity, it's also because when I was a kid, you know, we was doing circus show, but sometimes we didn't have any work, so we was going to work in some small cabaret. And my dad and mom was doing their act, and I was in the, dressing room, and I was sleeping on the feathers of the, the showgirls, or, the travestite, or, and the next day my dad will say, hey, go try some clothes for him, like people are going to look at him weirdly, so I was always raised with all the diversity in the world and the acceptance of everything and all artists to survive. So I think in my background, it's a little bit of both, right? So I wanted to bring that together in a moment like that during this pandemic, talk about this humanity and the diversity and the self-expression, and to celebrate every single one of them, and with the circus, and to try to shoot them in a different ways. And then the second time, it was about continuing the journey, but try to see if we could not have a stage, not have the ring, and bring the act to different place inside this castle. And that little boy will come as the feeling we have then when we come to a city, in a new city to do our job, right? And open the door of this castle, and each door that he will open will be a different act. And we would place them in different places, and you will do the narrating about the celebration and the history of the ancestor. And at the end, of course, we bring life into this castle and look completely empty before we even come in, because material is really nothing if you don't have the soul and the humanity. So we bring life, and in the end we have that moment where we all leave the same way, when we know, that moment and we know we did our job and we're ready to go to the next one. And that was the thought about basically try to create a small movie. And the challenge is to able to have energy, right? That center of energy that a show have, but dispatching in a different form and still be there, right? So this is the challenge, and that's the one that I'm actually working at it, and facing it and experiment it and liberate us from the ring, and not in a way that we don't want to come back, but just to jump in, jump out, just go,
expand what you can do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so this is wonderful. I mean, I think it was a brilliant idea. I enjoy filming it. And it's always a challenge with live entertainers in transitioning to something like this. It's always, I remember in my Ringling days, one of the funniest days always were the photo shoot days, when we would do the video offerings for promotions, because getting live performers to stand around and, all right, your take, your next take, we're ready to move. We have to, that's what we do. But it's a discipline, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's brilliant in that we're learning to adjust to the realities of our time, which is what circus has always done, where we don't sell ourselves out, but we are able to morph wonderfully into the language of the age, and the age is virtual. I think a lot of us in the performing arts may have started out a bit behind because we wanted to be such purists before this pandemic. Everybody, oh, that's beneath me to be on social media. That's beneath me to have a Facebook, to fan pages. And now everybody's doing it. I mean, everybody's doing it. I have colleagues in the opera world. They have their talk shows, which are brilliant, by the way. They're wonderful. They speak. And I said, this is what it is. I think when this opens back up, honestly, I really believe we're going to see a huge surge of appreciation for the arts across the board in ways that we have not seen before. People are going to really, really covet them more than ever, and we're realizing it right now. I mean, they've been talking about it in New York, how Broadway theater has been such an economic boom for New York, and how much it really means. And they're missing those dollars, and they're missing that spirit. And that's what people need. And I think no craft does it better than, of course, circus. And I think we'll see smaller shows that have the flexibility to do pop-ups, to do virtual offerings, to do wonderful big stage productions or get under their big tents, like, Bernardo's Circus and other Circus Vasquez and others that, where you just have multiple arms or tentacles where you can really express this art. And that can only be a good thing. And of course, we have all this new circus media. Now, we have all these people with podcasts and myself with a vlog. And I think this is great because it's bringing it to a whole new audience. And I tell you, of course, I couldn't say no to you. Well, I love you, so I could say no to you, but I had to be a part of what this new wave is. And I think we're going to be the better for it. I really believe that.
Yeah, well, I definitely think then we are important and to keep going and to continue to exist and believe. Doing it didn't matter. I enjoy the tough time and as much as the good time. It's part of it. Like this is great. Like the reinvention and the reaction to the pandemic and what it have created to her life. I mean, look at us. We do a show, we don't see each other. Like now, a week after we are, you're having those fantastic centering. I do think it'll bring good things. I miss the human energy. It's true that I love to have people around, and I love that sense of energy. And I can wait to go and do our little shows in October with people around, but I love to do Cirque Aura and to explore different ways to make us exist and take place in different form like we used to be, and not just being defined with one thing, and take her place and verbalize her mission, how much we are important, and get support. And see the new generation coming in. I mean, in Texas, it was really hard. I was the first circus school, and when I tried to open, they say, well, I'm going to tell our kids to run away with the circus. And, now it's about, I don't know, it's like Ariel Studio and, University SMU.
Yes.
Teach, circus over there.
It's the thing now, because people found out they could lose weight doing it.
Yeah, so I think it's good. It's good, and it's keep moving, and it's good, but it cannot be like a parallel world, like it can be a parallel world where, suddenly we dress with jeans and we have a white t-shirt and we have a dramatic music and we hang from a rope and we call that the Circus of Tomorrow. That's the circus of before yesterday. So it's like this has been 30 years, done, like you got to figure it out here, and to figure it out is we got to go back. Then we cannot pretend. We have to be, and to be, you got to give a chance in yourself and your emotion and humanity and who you really are, and not just get on the picture like, oh, I'm modern. See, I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm in gray. I have a dramatic music and I'm saying something. No, you don't say something. You say whatever the other ones say about, 30 years ago, and you keep doing it because it's easy. That's easy. That's easy. Now, if you do, like I just saw the quadruple at Monte Carlo on the flight trapeze last year, I didn't have to say anything, didn't have to have a dramatic music, at that moment, I'd pretty much say it at all. So not that you don't need to be artistic and creative, but I think, I had that director that I admire and I work in Russia, his name is Valentin Gunyushev, and was pretty much a precursor on every sense of opera, circus, theater, and embrace and painting, and bring everything together and the essence of the art and create beauty, about creating beauty. This guy was telling me then, original, like he didn't speak French, and English very well, it was Russian, but during the circus festival, original, pas technique, not original. But this is the guy that created Irina Larkina and Ivanenko, and I mean he's the guy that created almost those the most beautiful to me acts in the planet, and really reinvented circus. I mean that's the guy that really changed the world 30 years ago, and so you got to have both. You got to have both. And what the most beautiful balance than you can ask a human being than to be devoted as, hard work for the half and be the pure soul artist on the other half. We're not a director telling what to do, or not being, with a main person directing 20 people and tell you my mind is more important than 20 of you. You know, I really believe that every single one of them have an important things to say.
You truly do believe in that, because your directing style is highly collaborative. You know, it's almost, I think it's almost too generous, because it's so like, it's so funny, because I'm like, she's asking me what I want to do. I'm like, you know, and I guess because my background, I come from, you know, more of a dictator style, but it's very appreciative. It's like, it's very welcoming, and it's very collaborative, where you actually, you authentically want to know from the artist or whoever you're working, even the crew person, like what works here. You may have a vision and you may see it one way, but to be open consistently to asking, wait a minute, is this the best way we can go about it? What do you see here? I mean, you give me a lot of leeway in, especially in presenting and, you know, what the story can be. And I'm very appreciative of that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it also goes with your skill as an educator as well. I'd love to also address your school and the importance of not just arts education, but circus education. What you see, its impact on the community in the Dallas-Fort Worth, its impact on the students that you have groomed and raised up, some of whom have gone on to have wonderful circus careers throughout the world. Can you speak of that and how we as a world community can also contribute to Lone Star Circus, LoneStarCircus.org. That's where we can go to contribute. It is a non-for-profit organization. And I want to encourage one and all, if you love circus, if you want to really, if you say you love it, if you support it, please make sure you become a contributor to LoneStarCircus.org. But I would love for you to really give us an inside look as to just how effective the Lone Star Circus School has been for the Dallas-Fort Worth community.
To me, the circus school is the heart, because we educate children and adults with the importance of circus, because even if it's just the recreational programs or the elite programs, which I have for children to become professional, but it's to love the circus and to have the desire to go watch a circus because they actually, you know, try it. And so that's make them connect with it. So it's my way to continuing through the education to be able to open those layers and creating passion for circus. So is kind of crazy, it's to see as soon as they get into it, the passion they have for it. You know, I didn't see any children. Sometimes we do workshops or just little pop-ups and children that never had anything ever. And then they get into the circus and suddenly they can express themselves, they can be who they are, and children are so smart and they just click, you know, and they just love it. So for me, the recreational programs is a place in Dallas where the standard, even at the recreational, is high. You know, like I like to be that Fanny is in the room. And so I created a space where it's not La La Land, you know, like if you, like those elite, they have to know that they have to work. They have to work hard. And so if they really commit to, you know, all those classes and the strength and the flexibility and all of that, then after a second time, I'm going to go and work with them. You know, they have to make their way through it. So I have a reputation of being like pretty tough, you know, it's not, then it's like, oh, but then it's a lot of them and they stay. So because they know it's important to, you know, to have this kind of honesty. And I think now with the pre-elite and the elite programs, we have students that are actually working 5 hours a week on circus and also have the opportunity to perform and the opportunity to mix with other professionals. And it's not just a circus school where you learn tricks and you're not going to learn to express yourself, right? Express yourself is going to be as important, or selling it as important than the technique. And then we give them opportunity to perform. So all of this together created energy. And it's just, you know, make the connection between people. So we send those elites to an hospital to help children in need for some joys. Well, they're going to share their passion with those kids. Now we have a recreational programs, and somebody is going to climb the silk for fitness. Well, they're going to go, oh my gosh, next time I go to the circus, I'm going to really understand how much hard it is. So all of this creating open doors, it creates energy, it creates ways to make everything click. And creating a success organization. You know, I think it's fundamental to always go back to the roots, you know, such as is to not be like, oh, now I'm producing shows, or I'm not going to be in educational programs, I don't have time, No, I'm always there, I supervise, I'm tough, and I want them to know if they want to do this is what it's going to take, you know. And this is what we bring to the Dallas area. I think the community knows it, and every time it's need, they come to us and say, hey, we need. I mean, you know, we always been requested to bring some happiness into the city, and such I love because more circus. You know, I believe in people, I believe in humanity, I believe in circus, and I believe that the more we do it and the more we share it, the best it is. So,
and we believe in you. I love it. There she is. She is the queen of circus in Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, the apostle of circus. I love your message, and I love you, and we love you. We cannot wait to tune into Lone Star Circus Presents Circus Order. It's going to be fantastic, September 26th and the 27th. So mark your calendars, folks. It's going to be a fantastic event. We're going to break the internet, right? We're going to break the internet.
Well, yeah, we're all working really hard on this. It's a teamwork, you know. We have a whole team, and it's everybody is important, and we all work at it. Please watch. It's, you know, we need support, and we need to be watched, and we need to be seen, and we need to be heard. So please jump in and watch. And thank you, Jonathan. It's an honor to being interviewed by you. You know, I have so much admiration with.
I'm honored by you. I mean, I could have just let you go on forever. Everything you said is now I'm going to go write the book and steal it. Well, we love you, Fanny. We love you. We love you. We love you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, she is the fabulous Fanny Kerwich.
Black experience in circuses go back hundreds of years, and we do it with our own style. The circus has been a microcosm of the outside world. Many of the same prejudices that you see in the outside world are present in the circus.
So it's moving past the vision or the limited vision that the society has for you and stepping into the talent and skill that you know you have to go forward as a performer.
The circus is a vast international community, and there's only one place to connect for jobs, events, the latest news, and so much more. circustalk.com. Join today.